Alright, today we're going to be taking a look at how to draw a portrait, the image of a person's face. Keeping in mind that what we're doing today is strictly understanding proportional values in terms of where the placement of different facial features go, and we're not drawing anybody in particular. So the first thing that we need to do when we're drawing out a person, in particular their face, is to determine the shape of their face. And generally speaking, you have shapes that are kind of a little bit pointed at one end. You might have another face that might be a little bit more blockish or rigid, have stronger jaw lines, or you can have rounder faces as well. So the first thing you need to do when you're drawing somebody is look at the shape of the face. So generally speaking, the strategy that I often use is I'll draw two overlapping circles, which is a little bit hard to see. Here we go, we'll get those a little darker. And this just starts to form the shape of the face, right? And the next step is to start drawing in where the jawline would be, and roughing those in. From here, I'm going to start to subdivide my face into different zones. Our face is fairly symmetrical, so I'm going to draw a loose line of symmetry down the center of the face and start considering the placement of the eyes. Believe it or not, the eyes are halfway down the face. Many young children will draw the eyes up in this area, up in the forehead. All right, and what they're doing is they're seeing the face as the distance between the bottom of your chin and your hairline, and not seeing that there's hair that comes down from the top of your head about a quarter of the way down most people's faces, right? Which would be sort of in that general zone there. So that there we have hairline. And we also have the eyes. All right, so I'm going to come in, I'm going to just kind of roughly put in a hairline, just really loose right now, just so we have an indication of what's happening. Okay. The eyes go in on this red line, the halfway mark, and the width of one eyeball should travel across the width of the entire face approximately 5 times. So if I divide this line into approximately 5 equal zones, that's going to give me the correct size for the average eyeball. Now when you're drawing an eye, right, there's going to be a tendency as you're learning to revert back to the childhood almond-shaped eye. But what you need to remember is that in fact the eye has a tear duct in the corner closest to the nose, and there's also an eyelid, and the upper eyelid in most cases will sort of overlap the bottom one a little bit, and that gives us a spot to put the eyelashes. Okay? So I'm going to get those drawn in really rough here. Over on the other side, so we've got the 2 eyes. Okay. I'm going to put in an indication for where the eyeball is, which is over at the side here. We typically see a little bit of flesh in the tear duct area, which would be in here. And then I'm going to start putting in the iris. Now, it's important that we do not draw a full circle for the iris. In fact, the iris in many cases is going to be tucked up underneath the upper eyelid, and you're going to get a little bit of the iris cut off, and you'll get a bit of the pupil as well in there. Okay. So once we have the eyes in place, I'm going to start looking into the nose. Okay? And again, the nose, we're going to divide the space into approximately half again, and that's going to give us the distance for the base of the nose. Right? And the nose consists of sort of 3 parts: the cartilage that makes up the tip, and then the flesh that makes up the sides of the nostrils. Okay. The width of your nose is approximately 1 eyeball width. So in that space between the eyes, if we draw our lines down, our nose will pretty much fit within that area there. Okay, and we also have, at this point, start thinking about the ridge of the eye sockets. Okay. Again, get a little bit of shading in here in order to indicate where the light is going to go. Right, we're going to also sort of put the bottom part of the eye socket and eyeball in as well. The trick of creating a really good looking face, right, is to make sure that you're thinking about the volume. And that's done through adding your shading in. All right, third step is to consider the mouth. Okay, we're going to again divide this up in half. And we're going to have the opening of the mouth come onto the line. The upper lip is typically a little bit thinner than the lower lip. And the width of an eye, or your mouth, sorry, it goes from one pupil to the next. A little bit of a shadow on the lower lips. And at this point, I'm going to come down, I'm going to try and refine out the jawline a little bit, make some minor adjustments. Come back into the hairline, right, a small indication of the chin. All right, and I'm going to start to draw in an ear. The ear goes from the eyes down to the base of the nose. Right, and depending on how the sitter is in front of you, then you're going to see more or less of the ear as well. Okay. Last thing to do is we're going to consider the neck. And it's important to remember that the neck does not come out from just between the mouth area, that it extends out from the ears, right? And then we have the base of the neck. Right? And again, adding shading and value is going to help to sort of create that sense of distance that the mouth is sticking out. All right, so I'm just going to quickly spend a minute or so. I'm going to use a different color here to reinforce some of the lines that I think are more important. In order to, this is just going to help me see the facial proportions a little bit clearer. And one thing that I had forgotten about is the eyebrows, so I'm going to get those in. All right, and they sit on top of the eye socket. We have the eyelashes as well. And this is going to give us, again, some of those basic proportions for the human face. So you can take this along with your careful observation and be able to hopefully work towards creating more realistic portraits.